What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful here for something categorically different than we've done in the past. Now, we've done like NBA draft podcasts and things like that here, but we're doing the first ever Outside the Ring, the Cat Cast. Those of you who know me know I've got a love for all animals, but especially cats. We, of course, have Jimmy Van here with us. Jimmy, how you doing?
I'm good, Sean Ross Sapp. This was a one-off that I decided to try. Inspired by my own cat. I have a cat with late-stage kidney failure, and so that was my inspiration to want to do this. And here we go. So we're going to see how many people love cats today.
If you're not watching this, I assume that you are cold-hearted and you don't like animals. Completely the opposite of our guest, Dr. Sarah Wooten. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I am so excited to do this podcast. You have no idea. I've never done an MMA podcast, so I'm ready. Let's go.
It's going to be a change of pace.
I like
for
the
Jimmy.
punching. I like it.
Yeah. It's going to be a change of pace for Jimmy to have somebody to do it, excited to do a show with him. So that's going to be really great. So Jimmy, you were motivated to do this podcast specifically by what?
I have a 10-year-old cat. I'm going to grab him in a second. He's actually technically 9. He's going to be 10 in a month. He was diagnosed with something I'd never heard of called CKD, or chronic kidney disease. I'd never heard of it, didn't know what it was about. I didn't realize how common it is. And he's late stage. We don't know how long he's got. It could be days, could be weeks, maybe with treatment could be months. So I thought, you know what? There's probably a lot of people like me who have a cat and don't realize that this kind of thing exists. So why don't we do a podcast? We could talk about it and then talk about other things related to cats. Like I'm sure there's some people, maybe they don't have a cat and they thought about getting one. Maybe they just got a cat, whatever the case may be. And that was kind of my my reason for wanting to do this. And then I thought at the same time we could raise money for charity. And that was a big component of it.
You mentioned Toronto Cat Rescue, and Dr. Sarah wanted us to contribute to Canines for Warriors. Dr. Sarah, please tell us as much about this as you can.
Absolutely. Canines for Warriors provides highly trained service dogs to military veterans who are suffering from like PTSD or traumatic brain injury. And so these animals come in from high kill rescue shelters, and this program allows these men and these dogs to build this unwavering bond that facilitates collective healing and recovery.
I love it. Guys, if you send any super chats or humper chats, those will go directly to these causes today. Fightful is not keeping any of this. Jimmy, I got to ask you, I mean, anybody who watches our show know that you have absolutely no taste in clothes and shoes or anything like that. So tell me, how did your cat get incredible taste for my custom Nikes here? Like what happened here? How'd that get passed down?
I'm going to go ahead and guess that the cat was like, what the hell is that smell?
And it's like probably the smell of custom stitching on the back of a beautiful pair of Nike Air Max 1s. Taste. So we're hoping the little fella gets better.
And where's the beautiful graphic that we made that's got the charities on it? Where's that at?
It's right here.
There it is. Right there
beautiful,
it is.
Yeah, beautiful graphic. Our graphic design team worked overtime on this one, Jimmy.
Yeah, they did. So if you want to check out Canines for Warriors, there you go. K9S4warriors.org or the Toronto Cat Rescue, torontocatrescue.ca. The Toronto Cat Rescue is a no-kill, voluntary-based, donation-based charity here in Toronto, Canada. And so these are the two that the proceeds are going to go to today.
Now, Jimmy, specifically, were there any topics that you wanted to ask about, to direct? We got people saying, show us the cats. Listen, they are conditioned. I left the door open. They are conditioned to not come into my office. They know they're well-behaved little kitties. But we do have, I just know Jimmy's going to pop on here, Dr. Wooten, and just be obnoxious and disregard anything that anybody says. Here we go.
Oh, Lord, here comes the chunk.
Yep, here's the big man right here. Hopefully you can hear me all right because, like I said, I went wireless for this. This is Milo right here. He's probably still a solid 20 pounds, I think. And yeah, this was my inspiration to do this. Like I said, he's not even 10 yet. He'll be 10 in about a month. And he's got late-stage CKD, late-stage chronic kidney disease. I had never heard of it. I had never heard about what the heck sub-Q fluids are, Sarah. I had no idea. And now here I am injecting them every day. Like, what the hell is that?
You know? Yeah, but he looks good. I
He's
mean,
pretty good. He's being sluggish today. Like today, he's not eating much, but prior to today, he's been pretty good. He's been pretty. Oh, I think he sees. He might see the other
Melvin.
cat. Yeah,
These two
I think he
chunky
might see
boys are
him.
going to have a sumo battle, I think.
Yeah, Milo's a pretty big boy.
So,
So I'll see if he wants to sit. You want to sit, bud?
Dr. Wooten, this one had surgery several years ago. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was a kidney stone buildups. And I learned throughout that process, like cats take shots like very, very well. I was so hesitant about giving cats shots and all that. That was a significant learning experience for me because they respond really, really well. What would you tell somebody who maybe is concerned about doing that after they leave the vet?
yeah, absolutely. That's always a big fear that people carry around because they think about getting shots for themselves and how much they don't want it. And then they project that onto their cats. But cats have different skin than humans do. So we can only pull our skin up like a little bit. You can pull a skin's cat. I mean, the skin on a cat could literally fit 2 cats. Maybe not your 2 cats. Your cats fill out their skin pretty well, but a normal sized cat, there's a lot of skin there. And what we do is we teach people to inject underneath the subcutaneous space, and it's not in the muscle. And most cats don't even notice it, right? And we usually go in between their shoulder blades. And a lot of people come in with a lot of anxiety about it, but then you just kind of work with your veterinarian and you breathe together and then you learn how to do it. And it's not so bad. And especially if you have to do this a lot, if you follow up with like a little tiny treat or something, then the cats build a good association with the injection and the treat. And then they don't go running when they see you. Because if you're freaked out, that's going to make them freaked out too. So it's really important to breathe.
As a child, I remember I would see our household cat when she would give birth to kittens. I'd see her carry them around by that area on their neck, and I'd be like, "No, don't do that! Don't do that!" Not realizing how sensitive they were. I was thinking, how would I feel if I got carried around like that? Definitely, cats are much more resilient than us.
Yeah, and they're actually cats in the wild are both like predators of small animals and then prey for large animals like coyotes. And so cats are actually conditioned, they are instinctually, they hide their illness. So anytime they feel pain or they feel sick, they're gonna hide it, right? Like a dog. I mean, you look at the dog wrong and it's like, "Arr, arr," a lot of these dogs are very big babies, but cats, they won't show you because they think if they do that, then they're more likely to get picked off by a predator in the wild.
Right.
And so if your cat is hiding more or your cat's just like gone or sleeping more, that's a really good sign that there's something going on.
Right. Let me ask you this question. So let's say that somebody's living in a city and they're thinking about getting a cat. Because I'm from the country and I grew up with cats, but my cats back home, they live to be 18, 19 because they were outside a lot, getting more exercise. I think they were getting more fluid because they would hunt, mice and stuff like that. I know that in the city cats, indoor cats don't, necessarily live as long because they're not getting the exercise. Maybe they're not getting the hydration. What would you say to somebody that's interested in getting a cat, but they're wondering, is this the right pet for me living in a city environment?
Well, I think it's important to know, like, to understand the animal itself, right? These animals are constantly on the move when they're outside. They're crepuscular, so they're most active at dawn and at dusk, and they really like vertical space, right? So one of the main problems we're finding with our indoor cats, like your apartment kitties, the suburban kitties, is they're not getting bit by big dogs or hit by cars or fighting as much, but now they're getting chronic problems like diabetes, obesity. They're just not moving. They get a lot of problems with litter box training because they're bored and stressed. So if you are thinking about getting a cat in an apartment, totally doable. It's just really important to educate yourself on feline environmental enrichment. And all that means is making sure that your cat has enough places to climb, get exercise, making sure that you're playing with your cat on a regular basis, making sure that you're getting food puzzles for them or different ways for them to engage their little feline noggins so that they don't get bored, anxious, stressed, or overweight. Yeah, so it's totally doable. People do it all the time.
So we run into some of those problems as we have multiple cats and we are indoor just because we're by a road. We feel a lot safer. with that. Are there any particular suggestions regarding multiple cats? Because obviously they have different attitudes. Some of them get a little upset at different things even.
Well, yeah. So first of all, you hit the nail on the head. Cats definitely have different personalities. Some of them are introverts and they don't like any other cats. Other cats are extroverts and they love other cats. And then some of them are both. So the important thing with multiple cats in one house is make sure each cat has their own set of resources. So their own bedding, toys, food and water bowl, litter boxes, places where they can get away from the other cats, because like cat bullies are a real thing.
Yes.
And the other thing is, so that's really important, resources for each cat. And then the experts also do recommend having one more litter box than number of cats. So if you have, say, 3 cats, 4 boxes. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
More boxes than cats.
Yeah, one more.
Ah, how about that?
So we had a cat. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Sean. Go ahead.
We had a cat that was one of the first that we had adopted here, and we ended up keeping her. As we brought more cats in, she became more reclusive. She became significantly more reclusive and would isolate herself different places. Like she would go sit in a closet all day, or she would sit in the corner all day. We weren't quite sure what was going on with her. We took her to the vet. Of all things, she had to have her anal glands expressed. I know that's a bit crass or whatever, but ever since then, we brought her in the living room, and I wouldn't say that she's friendly with the other cats, but she's no longer reclusive. However, this had went on for years. Have you heard of anything like this that can maybe significantly just change a cat's mindset to where they go through that categorical shift of, I don't want to be around anybody except for you two humans, to I don't care as long as they leave me alone?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if there's like an underlying problem, then they're going to be even more reclusive. And it could be like you brought these other cats in, and then there was like some sort of, weirdness around the litter box, or something different in their, just the stress levels. You know how stress always affects your body? Well, it does the same thing for your cats. I see the kitty cat.
Oliver the cat.
Oh, that's Oliver.
Yeah.
He's so beautiful.
I've got a cutout of him at my office.
You've got to cut out of several of them.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I need props sometimes, so we have that.
I like to think he's my crony. He would laugh at all my terrible jokes for sure.
But he looks pretty happy and pretty chill. Like he doesn't look like he's stressed about anything.
He attaches to me like a little koala bear. He's pretty good.
Yeah. So anytime you introduce new cats, also the important thing to know is cats form they're cliquish, huge cliquish animals. They form social groups, and their social group could just be them and one human, or it could just be them. And so if you bring in new cats, sometimes it's a little of a challenge to integrate those cats. And like something like an anal gland issue, that could definitely flare up, even just the stress of bringing animals in. So if you are bringing a new cat into your house and you notice like abnormal behavior with the other cats, definitely get them checked out.
Ian,
their own space.
Sure. Ian says that sometimes he's got 4 cats, 3 litter boxes. One almost never gets used. One gets used by all 4 almost 90% of the time. It does seem like it's good to have the option. Like if for some reason they do have a significant change in preference attitude, it feels like it'd be great for them to have that option.
Well, and the other thing is cats are really particular about where they, do their duty. So if all the boxes, like if there's like a little variation in one of the boxes, it makes it different than the others. Maybe that's something that attracts all the cats to it. In general, cats don't like hoods. They don't like liners. They don't like the electronic things going through. They also don't like it when the litter box is next to like the furnace or in a high traffic area. A lot of people put their litter box in like the furnace room or the laundry room. And sometimes cats don't like it because they don't like the machines, right? So look and see like what your boxes are by. Sometimes also like those anal glands you were talking about, they use those to mark their territory. So it could be that they've all marked that one, and now that's it, right? So I would make sure to clean all the boxes with like an ammonia, and then let them completely like a 1-to-1 water to ammonia to kind of break down any of those pheromones that they're leaving behind. Make sure it's totally aired out. and then start fresh again and see, and even move the boxes around and see, like, if there's any difference.
Interesting. We're not getting paid by them, but a litter robot has actually been a life changer for me. And
Yeah.
it got to the point where Sean actually tweeted litter robot, and they actually sent him one because of his following. I haven't scooped litter in 5 years.
And
So I
yeah,
guess you're saying I got lucky. Like there's a chance that the cat wouldn't have liked it.
well, and some cats don't care, but when people come to me and they're like, "Doctor, my cat is pissing all over my laundry and all over my bed," I'm like, "Well, let's look at your litter box situation." So,
Really?
yeah.
Interesting. Man, I got a lot of questions to ask you now. I'm thinking about my last cat. And I had a cat that passed about 10 years ago. I had her for 13 years. And she used to do things like, for example, I once moved apartments, and I would come home from the office, and she would, and we can swear on this podcast, she would shit at the front door. Like every day she would shit at the front door.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying to figure out, are you cognizant enough to know that I'm like working too much or something? Like, why are you shitting at the front door? And it was
I
driving
paid
me
your cat
crazy.
off. I paid
Is
your
that
cat
what-
off. That's what
And I
it
didn't
was.
know you then. So that's impressive, Sean.
I
I didn't know
know.
you then. Yeah. But is that a common thing that a cat would do to let you know that they're pissed about a situation?
Well, yeah. So cats are not spiteful. Anytime they're doing that, they are definitely sending you some sort of message. I don't know what the message is, but they're sending you some sort of message. And so if there was like a change where like you were gone more, oh yeah, that could totally do it. And I always have people come in and they're like, "My cat's mad at me and they did this." I'm like, "Nah, it's not so much that. It's just a cat. This is the way the cat communicates." And so we just have to find out what the trigger is.
Interesting.
We have some super chats. Ian Hunter says, have 2 cats from TCR back in 2012, 2 kittens just last fall from What Be Animal Services.
Whitby.
There we go. Kittens have both mild CH. They fall over a lot, but they don't let their CH stop them, which is actually quite inspiring. I love
What is that? What's CH? What's that?
So that is cerebellar hypoplasia. Cerebellar hypoplasia. That's your word for the day, gentlemen. And what that is there's a part of the brain, like right back here, the cerebellum. Humans have it too. Dogs, we all have it. And sometimes there's something that happens in utero, either infection or trauma or toxin or something that causes that part of the brain to not develop as much. And so the cats are born with tremors, which are called intention tremors, and they have like problems walking. So they'll go to eat something, like instead of just put their head down to eat it, they go like this. They go,
really?
Yeah. And then
Wow.
they're really, really cute. Like any cats that have this are so cute. And they think they're totally fine. It's not painful. It doesn't limit their life. It just makes them more inspiring and entertaining sometimes as well.
We have a couple more chats. Even people just offering some encouragement, which is very nice. Alan Mark says, this is a cause I wholeheartedly support. I'm an Army vet and a cat lover, so here you go. We appreciate you, Alan, definitely. And Charlie says, at work, but had to get involved. Go cats. Hey, I'm look at that. That is the spitting image of Oliver back there as a wildcat right there. If I didn't take him in, that's what he'd be right now. Britt Lockman says, certainly couldn't miss this one. Such great causes, and thanks for doing this. And we have Ian that says, first time super chat for a good cause. What's the best way to deal with a cat with high anxiety with a scratching problem? She won't allow her nails clipped.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so first of all, make sure that your cat has lots of good scratching opportunities. And I'm talking about like making sure there's vertical and horizontal places for the cat to scratch. And make sure that those scratching opportunities are up high enough so that the cat can like really stretch, because that's how they stretch like all the muscles in their backs as well. And sometimes with just scratching, sometimes you can get the nails to come down enough. If in addition to making sure that there's a lot of good scratching, you're going to need to figure out why your cat's so anxious. Now, sometimes these cats just have a higher level anxiety. It actually can happen because of stuff that happens to them in utero. So you want to look into things like calming aids, calming, like Calm. There is lots of different ones out there, but these aids might be able to help you get your cat's anxiety level down low enough so that you can actually trim the nails. And some of the over-the-counter ones, Feel Away is a great one. That is a pheromone spray that It's designed to mimic the pheromones that a mother cat emits when they're nursing. And so it's very calming to cats. So you can like spray it. There's wipes, there's a diffuser. That's one. Another thing is you can actually get thunder shirts for cats. And that's kind of like a weighted blanket kind of thing. And that can reduce anxiety. A couple of the other over-the-counter calming aids include L-theanine, so Angxitane, Anxitane, and Zylkene, Zylkene. Angxitane and Zylkene are both supplements that can reduce anxiety. And it's important to get these on board like an hour before you are going to try any nail clipping. Some people actually find benefit with CBD oil in cats.
Nice.
Yeah, you can actually, that can be calming for cats. It's actually good for pain as well. And one of the products I like is Ellevet, Ellevet. That one's good. If none of that's working for you and you're like, this is not working, you have a couple of options. Talk to your vet about prescription level anxiety medication. And the two that come to mind for me are gabapentin, which is a muscle relaxant, very, very safe. Cats love it. They're just like, oh, I'm so happy. And then trazodone is another one. Some people use those benzos, but I don't like benzodiazepines in cats because there could be liver issues. But if you get some of those, gabapentin or trazodone from your vet, you just give it an hour beforehand and then clip the nails. Make sure you're nice and calm too, because your animals can pick up on your anxiety. And that might be a way to get that done without getting all scratched up.
One of the ways we've discovered that helps us clip the nails is if one of them will sit on your shoulders like this. You've got somebody to help you. The paws are right there. You can kind of just pull them out of the fabric, clip them very, very easily. That's been the easiest method that we've learned, as opposed to front facing a cat and they're sitting there looking at what you're doing instead of worrying about being held and pet the entire time. It's alleviated a lot of their anxiety as well.
Absolutely. And some people like to burrito their cats up in a towel, kind of like that weighted blanket idea. We call it a burrito instead of a burrito. And then you kind of just like work one of their legs out. And even if you're like, you allow them to have their head covered too. Sometimes they think if they can't see you, you can't see them. And then they're safer.
Yes, I've seen that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I got a question for you about feeding the cat. So this guy here, so I never thought I was feeding him too much. Like he would get a quarter cup of dry food per feeding, and like the 3.5 gram can of food, like half of that per feeding, which I didn't think was a lot. And he got up to 21 pounds. Mm-hmm. What's the right amount of food to feed a cat so they don't put on a lot of weight?
Great question. So you were feeding like a half cup per day plus like 3/4 of a can?
Basically.
Okay. So the problem with a lot of the commercial dry foods out there is they are super calorically dense. So if you look on the label, it will say like 450 kcals per cup, which is, if you cut that in half, that's like 225, right? So the average size cat, like your 8 to whatever, 10 pounder, right? Those cats that are indoors that are not like active hunting, they should not be eating more than 300 to 330 kcals per day.
Okay.
And what happens is over time, it just adds up, right? So if you're feeding 340 per day, well, if you do that for 7 years, you're going to have a fat cat. So for most cats that are just indoors, chilling out, not active and hunting all over the place, about 300 to 330. For some of your Maine Coons and your larger breeds, those are, maybe closer to 350 to 375. But you really have to be careful because it's super easy to overfeed these cats. And that's one of my beefs with like commercial food is the cats don't feel full. So they'll eat it really fast and then they'll come meow, 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 because they're designed to kind of eat all day long. But in the wild, they're eating, rodents and birds and grasshoppers, which are very low calorie. Uh-huh. And so it's just making sure that you're super precise, talking to your veterinarian about exactly how much to feed, Ask them if your cat is overweight. Most cats, if they don't have any kind of underlying medical problem, can reach their goal weights within 6 to 8 months. And it's also important to not underfeed your cat. So if your cat is overweight and needs to go on a diet, make sure you are using a weight loss food. And the reason being is because if cats are fed too little, over time they can develop a condition called fatty liver syndrome,
Okay.
which can be life-threatening. So you want to make sure that you work with a veterinarian when you are putting your cat on any kind of weight loss program.
Well, that kind of answers this guy's question. He says, my cat tends to eat really fast and spits up afterwards. Is there a way to help slow down his eating?
Yep, absolutely. So you can, there's a couple different ways. They actually have slow bowl feeders out there, which they're like a bowl that have like all these different bumps or ridges or whatever. And so the cat has to like work to get the food out. And that can really slow down the eating because they can just get one kibble at a time. Another thing you can do is you can get a cookie sheet and you can spread the food out on a cookie sheet. So like the cat has to eat one kibble at a time instead of gulp, gulp, gulp. You can also, one of the most creative things I saw was somebody took a egg carton, like just a cardboard egg carton. They flip it upside down so all the bumps are up, and then they put the kibble in between all those little bumps so the cat has to work to get them all out. And then my favorite is when you take your measured amount of food and then you toss one kibble at a time. The cat has to go hunt it. So you get the slowed feeding, you get calorie control, you get to play with your cat, and your cat gets a little bit of mental stimulation and physical exercise. Yay!
Or they're pissed at you, I guess. But,
we got a few more chats.
And
Amber says,
then they go shit by your door, right?
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Amber says, great cause. Happy to donate for my 2 cats, Chance and Harper. Battery Leg says, wanted to support this at 21. My sister got me a cat when our dad died, and he comforted me so much. I'm not sure I would have made it through without him. So this is from me and Ricky the cat. I always love hearing that. Like my grandmother, when she lost the person she had been living with for decades, she turned to her cat, and that's who keeps her company when we can't be around. So I love it. We've also got a donation from Autoclave. Thank you so much. Jeff the Viking says, just joined the chat. Sorry if this has been asked. We have 2 cats, 6 and 9, for 6 years and live in a 1.5 bedroom apartment. One wants to be friendly with the other. The other doesn't want anything to do with them. Is there anything we can do?
Well, don't force it. That's the first thing. You never ever want to force cats to get along. It's just going to result in bites and abscesses and bad feelings and an expensive vet bill, right? So the first thing is to make sure both those cats, like we said earlier, have their own resources, their own stuff, their own bedding, their own food and water bowls, all their own stuff, right? And then make sure the cat that doesn't want to hang out has a place to get away from the other cat. Now, it can be challenging in a 1.5 bedroom apartment, but what you have is you have vertical space. You can go up. So shelving where that cat can get up there. The one that really wants to be friendly, sounds like that cat needs some more exercise, playtime, mental stimulation. So look into ways to occupy that cat, especially when you guys aren't around. Like they have these really cool things now where it's like a no bowl feeder where you get these little tiny mice, they're little toy mice, and you stuff their food in there, and then like the cat has to go hunt it and then carry it around and then get the food out of there. So sounds like your one cat needs more stimulation and the other cat needs a place to get away. Go up if you can't go anywhere else. If one of the cats, it's even easier if the cat that doesn't want to hang out is skinny and then the other one is fatter, because sometimes you can make a little place for them to hide out where only the skinny cat can go. So, see if a couple of those won't help you.
12 Loose Leaves has an incredible donation and says, 2 weeks ago, I adopted my first cat since I was in high school, almost 20 years. His name is Baker, and he's a good boy. Oliver might have some competition. Happy to support such a great cause. Oliver is not a good boy, so they're not in competition for that. He's sitting right here now that he knows that my door is open and won't give up. So we live in rural Kentucky, middle of nowhere, and I think we have probably adopted, vetted, and rehomed probably over 3 dozen cats. And for a while, there was like a chain of feral cats. Like one family of them made their way out here. We would get them vetted, and surprising to us, out here, it was easier to give away the feral cats because there's so much farmland, and there's always a need for mousers in that area. And they're very low maintenance for those people because they don't want to be high maintenance. They want to hunt their own food. How often do you have feral cats that are brought in to be vetted, and what kind of challenges does that pose you?
So yeah, we would typically see ferals in Greeley, Colorado, where I was in practice, like once a week. They usually were brought in by animal control. So the main concerns with the feral cats is obviously reproduction, right? Because cats are horse and they start having sex when they are 6 months old and they never stop. Like one female cat can have like 40 kittens in 3 years, right? So that's a major issue. The other thing is obviously your local songbird and rodent population, right? If you've got like some sort of rare prairie vole or songbird, they tend to disappear in the areas where there's feral cats. And then lastly, the disease. So infectious disease is pretty big in some feral cat colonies, the main ones being intestinal parasites, and then certain viruses. So when you run into ferals, you have a couple of options. You can call a local rescue. There's usually, most areas, even rural areas, will have some sort of feral cat rescue where they will come, they'll trap the cat, they'll spay or neuter it, they'll tip their ear so that people know that it's been spayed or neutered, they'll vaccinate it, they'll treat it for worms, all that kind of stuff. If you don't have those options in your area and you're concerned about feral cats, you can always call animal control. So yeah, those are kind of the main concerns. The other thing is just, if you do have them and you feed them, you will attract more of them. So yes, this kind of a thing, you probably experienced this, huh, Sean?
We certainly did. Like we lived near a school, and parents would, their pickup line would be around our house, and they got caught like dropping off. Somehow they caught a couple of feral cats, and they would progressively drop off these cats in the area. To catching them, to get them vetted, was the biggest challenge. We had to like use a dog kennel, put Qdoba in the dog kennel, and like sort of shut the door like discreetly. Then the next day, like we had agreed with the local veterinarian. He was like, "Hey, let's get this feral cat situation under control. I'll leave a pretty convenient spot open." He was wonderful about that. Wow. And we were shocked at how easy they were to rehome. And as I'm making my drive to the closest town, because we're in the middle of nowhere, I still see some of them just relaxing by the barn. Like they really love it.
That's awesome.
I want to ask you another question. Sorry, I want to ask you another question about feeding.
Okay.
So I have read that when a cat gets to a certain age, you should feed them mostly wet food because they need the hydration. Is that true?
I would say so. There's some truth to that. Cats their ancestors are desert dwellers, basically, and they did get most of their moisture from their prey. We also know that cats don't have a drive for water the same way humans or dogs do. They just don't feel thirst the same way, and they tend to not drink as much. So I don't think you necessarily have to go all the way to canned food because some cats just love dry food. I always recommend to people with the older cats combination of canned and dry.
Combination. Okay.
Combination of both. And then if they prefer one of the over the other, that's fine. Also, I always say, hey, do whatever you can to get them to drink more water. A lot of cats like those drinking fountains where water just kind of circulates. And then, but yeah, getting a combination of canned and dry is always good. The other thing that's great about that is if you get your cat used to eating kind of a rotation of flavors, then it's easier to switch them because cats can develop super strong food preferences and it can get really hard to change them if they're very, very, very into one particular food. Sometimes it's not even the flavor. Sometimes it's the shape, stars versus triangles versus circles. So yeah, if you can also get a variety of shapes, that's good too.
All right.
Guys, a reminder, you can get your super chats in, your humper chats in. They will all go towards an incredible, two incredible causes, Canines for Warriors and Toronto Cat Rescue. You can also see both of those at these Twitter, Facebook, Instagram accounts, and these websites that are listed. I'll also throw those in the description below, but we do have a couple of comments. Dennis says, had to put a cat of nearly 20 years down the other day, dropping him with a little something for a good cause. I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sure that you gave the little fella a great home though. And yeah, hopefully some good can come out of your donation as well. And Dante says, perfect timing. One of my cats won't stop jumping on my partner's desk while they're working at their computer. Every time we move the cat, she jumps back on the desk. Any suggestions?
Those cats, they can be such jerks, right? Okay, so a couple of things, right? That cat wants your attention. I think part of that is cat wants your attention. So I would say throw in a couple of more play sessions, really active play sessions during the day. Second of all, you're going to need to make the desk less desirable to jump on and someplace else more desirable. So, if you have another vertical space somewhere around anywhere, even like another desk surface, maybe, put some treats up there or some catnip or some toys or something to make it, maybe a little bed, things like that. And then like give your cat lots of praise and attention when they jump up on that. And then the last thing is to make the desk less desirable. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it. Some of the, I would say cat deterrents that are more humane. Cats don't like saran wrap often. So you could cover the surface of your desk with saran wrap.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or you can get that double-sided tape and then kind of run that in strips along the desk and maybe do it over the weekend, like, when you're not going to be sitting there a lot. And just kind of make it not so fun to jump up there, right? And then make this other place like super fun, right? And then if your cat is jumping up there to get your attention, as soon as they do it, every time, just get up and walk away and go to the other place, right? So that builds an association in that cat's mind. This desk is not so fun, but this place over here is really fun. And oh boy, I'm tired from all this playing, right? I would start with that.
We've been buying our cats like these $12, $13 cat cottages at Walmart that are, they have a scratch thing as like the inset, and then it's like a cardboard house, and it's got little windows and a door they go through, and they just crawl around in there. They can scratch, they can look out, they can play with one another because, they've got something to hide behind. Those things have been wonderful, and they're so inexpensive that we've just been able to replace it when one of them inevitably does a giant backflip into it and smashes the whole thing. Those have been wonderful. Like we really like those. Alan Marks says, my guy Tommy Cat is an indoor cat. If I have to be away, I turn on one of the cat TV channels on YouTube, and my guy spends the day watching the birds on the video and not anxious waiting for me, almost as good as wrestling videos. We leave our Pluto TV on the Pet Collective, and sometimes we'll leave like our tablet on with one of the bird chasing apps where they touch it and it makes the little bird disappear. Like they love that stuff.
So your cat actually does the iPad thing?
One or two of them do. Yeah.
Awesome.
We've had to start having them do it on like different services because I don't want them to scratch my phone screen. But yeah, they love that stuff.
I want to ask you about I'm sorry to cut you off. I wanted to ask you about the age of cats. So again, talking about my cat who's 9 going on 10, when the vet technician was showing me how sub-Q fluids work, he referred to my cat as elderly. And I was shocked. I was like, a 9-year-old cat going on 10, elderly? Like I thought cats are supposed to live to 19 or 20. At what point are you considered to be an older cat?
So technically speaking, cats that are 7 years and older are considered to be senior.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. And it seems a little young to me, but that's kind of just like been, what's been passed down to us. And then cats that are older than, say, 13, they move them into the geriatric classification.
Wow. That's shocking to me. Really?
Yeah. And I agree. Like, I do think cats have the capability to live a lot longer. And so I think part of like what we need to figure out, my profession, is why aren't they living as long? And what can we do to get them back to that?
Right.
Also, I
right.
want to know why we aren't calling Jimmy Van geriatric at this point. Based on the data that we have, I think that he would qualify.
That's cute. I'm gonna remember that on payday.
Now listen,
So,
I'm just amateur. I'm not a professional medical professional. I'm a professional amateur. But
yes.
it's Jimmy, you're there. You've hit that age.
Yeah, that's good. Enjoy your cardboard houses, Sean.
Van Twin Blades. If you paid me more, maybe they could live in more regal spots.
It's like the Three Little Pigs, right? That's
yeah,
basically what it is.
exactly.
Pigs, yeah.
Exactly. They blow
Age
their own
is
house
just
down.
a number. Age is just a number.
Van
Just
Twinblade says, invest in the cat desk clip-on thing. And we have a bunch of, or a couple more chats. Charlie says, I have a rescue cat from when she was 6 weeks old. I assume trauma. She's very shy around people except me. She hides under the couch or runs away. Anything I can do to help her come out with people around. So much to this situation, we kept one of the feral cats and ended up sort of adopting it. He didn't want to leave anymore, but he also does not like us whatsoever. Me specifically. Maybe it's because I'm louder. Maybe it's because I move a little bit faster. He comes around my wife a little bit, who's a little bit gentler with how she speaks and all that stuff. Are there any suggestions for cats like that maybe don't have trust for the human?
Mm-hmm. Well, the main thing is obviously go slow. You can't ever force it with a cat. If you do, then the claws and the teeth come out, and then it's just made it worse, right? So if you do have one of those cats, I would say you need to dedicate time to just being around that cat and being quiet, right? And maybe holding some treats or having some treats around you, and let that cat kind of come out on their own terms and kind of explore around you. And don't be like Sean, move real slow. Have a nice, quiet voice. Don't make any sudden movements. Don't reach out and try and pet the cat or anything. You may need to do that with that cat for a couple of weeks in order to build that confidence level and not cause any stress in that cat. And then as they tend to most of them will over time develop trust enough to come near you. Now they may never want to sit on your lap or be cuddled or even, be pet very much, but some of them do. Some of them, if you build enough confidence, you might be able to pet them a little bit. And if you do, just kind of like come up to them on the side. The other thing is don't look at them directly in their eyes, kind of look to the side, because a direct stare is a threat. In cat language, that is a threat. Unless your cat's looking at you and they've got those really slow blinks and they're just kind of like, I love you.
Slow blink. That's what I've always heard. And that's also why when Jimmy looks me in my eye, I take that as a personal threat. And I say, cut that shit out. I'm not about that. And you're not about that life.
Well, Jimmy, you got to do some slow blinks.
Yeah, you got to do this.
Is that what I got to do?
That's what you got to do.
Usually I do that after I hear your voice for too long.
Jerry Catrick says, Van Twinblade. And Giraffe on Wheels says, I occasionally feed a friend's cat when they're away. He seems to recognize me. Do cats learn non-owner humans easily, or is he responding to there being a human around at feeding time? Great cause. Thanks for the stream.
Well, it could be. So cats tend to respond more to quick movements. Yes, that cat could be recognizing you. It's probably more likely that the cat's recognizing the food, because dogs tend to bond to people, right? And they will bond to a person and go with that person. Cats tend to bond to a location. And that's why you have these stories about people who move with their cats 40 miles away, and then the cat finds its way back to the old house.
Right.
It's because these cats are location specific. So it could be you, but it might also be the food.
That's amazing. We have several more chats. Hamlet says, shout out to all the cats and the professional wrestlers that love cats, like Evil Uno, Dalton Castle, Sammy Guevara, and Leva Bates. I love it. There's one person who I reach out to. I try to get scoops from them and exclusive news. And when they don't want to tell me, they just send me a picture of their dog. So I'm like, you know what? I admire that. Mo says, thanks for doing this, SRS, Jimmy and Dr. Sarah Wooten. Appreciation from Leonard, Shadow, Rigby, and Lavender. I used to have a cat named Leonard. I love that. And Melissa says, I give my 2 FVR cats L-lysine, but one always seems to have an irritated eye, worsens with stress. Is there anything I can give them to help reduce FVR symptoms? P.S. Doctor, please tell Sean to buy me a litter robot in exchange for a wedding invite. I probably can't even get into the country right now, Melissa.
Yeah.
But as
not?
far as the FVR and the L-lysine.
Yeah. So a couple of thoughts on that. Sometimes these cats, when they have chronic conjunctivitis because of viral issues, sometimes they'll have a blocked tear duct. So you want to make sure that that's not one of the issues. Sometimes they can even have an undeveloped tear duct that doesn't go down to their nose at all, and then so it just chronically drains. The other thing is to make sure that there's not any additional kind of critters that are hanging out in your cat's eye. And I'm thinking like bacteria, I'm thinking like, herpes, I'm thinking about different types of viruses. And so making sure if you are having chronic irritation, that there aren't other infections happening. And sometimes they just need some eye ointment from your vet that has like an antibiotic in it to completely clear that out. And you're totally right. It always gets worse with stress. So do whatever you can to manage the cat's stress, and that should help as well. Also making sure you're feeding a nice high quality diet too. Good stuff.
Sorry, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah. So now I wanted to ask you about CKD.
Okay.
So I've heard how common it is. I've heard that sometimes it starts out as acute, which is like a kidney injury, and if you don't know about it and don't get it diagnosed, it can become chronic.
Mm-hmm.
What is CKD? How common is it? And warning signs, because I'm still trying to figure out how my cat got it at the age of 9 or almost 10.
Yeah.
I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what kind of toxin he might have got into. So what is it? How common is it?
So CKD is chronic kidney disease. And so what that means is that, so the kidney's job is to filter the blood, filter toxins out of the blood to make urine. And then it also has some hormonal things that it does. And then it also regulates your electrolytes. And when a cat has CKD, chronic kidney disease, there's a certain percentage of there's these little filters in the kidneys, and when 70% of those filters stop working, then they start manifesting the signs of chronic kidney disease. So early signs that your cat could have chronic kidney disease, it's almost always a disease seen in older cats, usually not a younger cat issue unless there's some sort of trauma or rare infection or something like that. Or if you have a smushed face cat like the Himalayans and Persians, they can have polycystic disease, which can cause them to have kidney disease earlier. So the early warning signs are always peeing more and drinking more. Always, always, always. So your cat is suddenly draining the water bowl, or your cat is leaving lakes in the litter box and it's new, right? So that's always the first sign. The other signs that you can see is loss of appetite. They're just not wanting to eat as much. Sometimes weight loss. And then for the ones that are just really sick and near the end, they can literally just be skin and bones and not even really there mentally. So the causes, I feel like veterinarians don't know in a lot of different reasons why, right? And it's super frustrating for me as a veterinarian when I have somebody like Jimmy who's coming and is like, did I do something wrong? What's going on here? We don't know, right? I mean, it could be anything from something your cat ate to something in your cat's genetics to an infection that your cat was exposed to at some point in their life to a toxin that they might have been exposed to at some point. We don't really know in a lot of the cases. Sometimes we do, but a lot of the times we don't. And so so that's kind of CKD in a nutshell.
Okay. Go ahead, Sean.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Jimmy.
So again, I am kind of racking my brain, and I don't want to take up too much time asking you about my cat situation, but for many years, for the last several years, he would vomit a lot. Sometimes he would drink a lot of water in the morning, he'd vomit it all up. Sometimes he would eat some of the leaves off the plants in the house, vomit the leaves up. Sometimes if he ate his food too fast, he'd vomit up the food.
Myself and my shoes take no responsibility for this.
No. But I've read that maybe he had a lot of acid buildup in his stomach that caused a lot of vomiting, and the constant vomiting made him dehydrated, which made his kidneys work harder and created an acute injury. Is that possible? Because he vomited for many years, and I used to ask my vet, and they didn't say too much about it.
I think I think possibly that could be. I mean, obviously, anytime you have any organism, whether it's a cat, human, a dog, whoever, if they're chronically vomiting, yeah, they're going to be more dehydrated.
Right.
But would that cause the little filters in the kidneys to start shutting down? I don't know. Like,
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I'm just like
Uh,
you said. I'm like, what? I don't know. You know, so it's got to be super frustrating to everybody who's involved. I think some cats don't get enough omega fatty acids in their diet. So the stuff from fish oil,
Yep.
and that's really considered protective of kidney function. So I would also recommend, I mean, you're not my patient or anything, but I would recommend a fish oil supplement, Jimmy.
I've tried it.
I see
I've got
some
everything.
foods that have the omegas
Mhm.
like involved in them as well.
Yeah.
Yep, they do.
I've got phosphorus binders. I've got Serenia for nausea. I'm doing sub-Q fluids every day. I'm giving them Pepsid twice a day. I'm doing everything,
What you're doing is
and it's become a part-time job. Honestly, it's become a part-time
Yeah.
job.
Your
And
cat has better health care than I do, which I guess is a nice segue for Dr. Sarah Wooten to tell us a little bit about Pumpkin, which is a great insurance and wellness service provider. It helps cats, dogs get the best care possible so they can live their happiest and healthiest lives. I know people can go to pumpkin.care, but any more on that, Dr. Sarah?
So I think I'm definitely passionate about pet insurance because let me tell you why. And Pumpkin's a great company. As a veterinarian, it's always been really frustrating to me when I see an animal that I know that I could help, but I can't help because the owner doesn't have any financial resources or anything available to them. And I have seen so many animals over the years go without care, emergency care, or even like the highest level of care that they could get, or even they were euthanized because the owner just couldn't afford whatever, the $5,000 surgery. It's terrible. It's heartbreaking, not only for the pet parent, but also really stressful in the veterinarian. And I can tell you as a vet, when anybody would ever come in and say, oh, it's fine, I got insurance, I'd go, oh, thank God. Now I can actually practice medicine the way I want to and the way I know that needs to happen. So I'm passionate about getting the education out there to pet parents because every time people are like, man, I wish I would have bought this before the cat or the dog or whoever got sick. So I always say, be proactive, get it when they're young. Hopefully you never need it, but in case you do, it's there.
And I will admit, I was one of those people when I first got this guy 10 years ago, they told me get pet insurance or do you want pet insurance? And I thought, he's a kitten. He's not going to need anything for years. And I never did. Fortunately, I'm in a situation where I can pay for his treatments.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think that, a young kitten, it's a waste of money. You're not going to need it for at least 10 years. And so I never got it. And so now I have already spent almost 10 grand over the last couple of weeks on animal hospitals and IV fluids and all that crap. It really does add up quickly.
You could have sent him to the Super Bowl, Jimmy. Like
Yes, I
the
could have,
the
Sean.
tickets for the Super Bowl are comparable. He would have loved that.
And how do you know how much the Super Bowl tickets cost?
It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. I'm just saying
Nothing.
your cat personally
Right.
would have loved to go to the Super Bowl.
Yes, my cat would have loved it because he loves being in vehicles and he loves strangers a lot.
I have to tell you, I am rooting for that little Bengal team. I'm like,
There you go. There you go. I'm all about it.
I want to ask you about pilling your cat.
Okay.
So right now, I have to give him pills twice a day. And I've been making my own gel caps. So, you can actually buy like empty gel caps on Amazon, whatever. So I've been making my own gel caps. And in the morning, I have to give him Pepsid and Serenia. And then in the evening, I've been giving him B-complex and Pepsid in these gel caps. It's a fight. And these things are only, like, they're not big. It's a battle. Like, it's a fight. And doing the sub-Q is actually way easier. Sticking a needle into the cat is easier than pilling him. How
significantly easier.
It's like so much easier. How, because it's what I hate about it is that now when I sit down with him on the floor, he knows what's coming and he tries to take off, and I don't want to have that that feeling from him of me. How do I make it easier to pill the cat?
Yeah, a lot of conflict. So yeah, that it's never easy, right? I mean, I mean, we make it look super easy. Like when we grab their head and we're like, blink, right? I mean, we make it look easy, but it's not. And the cats hate it.
Yep.
The other thing is when you do pill a cat, you have to make sure to put a little water down there too, because oftentimes medications can get stuck in their esophagus and cause esophagitis, which makes them feel like crap. And then they don't want the pill even more. So couple of options. So I would, since you're already doing subcute fluids, try and ask your vet and see if you can get a bottle of Cerenia and then just put Cerenia in the line that's going to go into the cat, right? Because you have your little line and then your needle. Well, there's a little port there, and Cerenia comes in injectable form. So you can just pull up what you need and stick it in the port. B vitamins also come in an injectable form that you could probably do all through the line.
Really?
So I would say try to get as much injectable as you can.
What about Pepsid? Can I get injectable Pepsid?
Yeah, you can.
It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you can. Actually, famotidine comes in injectable form.
However that's spelled, you're going to have to email me and tell me.
I will.
Okay.
So, secondly, a lot of cats are super smart, but sometimes you can hide the pill in a little treat, little pill pocket.
I tried that, and they're still, even though they're made for cats, they're still pretty big for their mouth.
Okay. Yeah.
And so when I tried that, he has to chew it before he'll swallow it, and one chew and he spits it out.
Yeah.
So for me, that didn't work.
Yeah, well, totally. Another option, you can have most medications compounded into like a tasty flavored liquid, like tuna or chicken or whatever. Like GoodRx, they do a bunch of animal compounding. So you could have whatever you're having in this pill put into a liquid, delicious form that you just kind of put in their corner of their mouth. Some medications, and you may run into this depending on where your cat's case goes, can be formulated into a transdermal lotion that you rub on their ear.
I heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about that. Yeah, Murataz or something. I heard about that. I heard about coating it in butter. Does that work?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yep. And that's totally fine too. Some cats like peanut butter, but if you use peanut butter, make sure you don't use the sugar-free versions because those have xylitol in them, and that is toxic to cats.
Good to know.
I'm with you, man. Pilling a cat twice a day? No.
I hate it. Oh, I hate it. I hate it, and he hates it, and I feel bad doing it.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound awful, but there's been part of me that's thought about, okay, when he starts to decline, because I know he's late stage kidney disease, when he starts to decline, should I just stop the pills? Mm-hmm. Even though it means that he'll probably go sooner, because he hates it. He hates it. Like it's such a fight. So I've been in my head, I've been kind of thinking about that.
Well, and that is a valid conversation. I think with what most of the medications you were telling me, I feel like you could get those in different forms that are easier than pilling.
Okay, I'm going to look into it because I dread it. I dread it every morning and every evening.
Oh yeah. Nobody's blaming you at all.
Yeah, no. I got more questions, but Sean, do you want to jump in with something first, or?
Checking to see if we have any more chats. As of now, we don't. But so far, we've already raised over $300 for these causes. So thank you all.
Well, I'm also
so
I am going to donate 1,000 apiece.
Nice.
So I'm going to donate 1,000 to Toronto Cat Rescue and 1,000 to Canines for Warriors as well.
Oh my God.
So that'll be good. I want to ask you
also donating 10,000 to your cat to go to the Super Bowl and to take me. That is incredibly generous of you, Jimmy.
You know, Sarah, let me tell you something.
Yes.
So Sean and I have been working together now for about 5.5 years. If people knew what he made 5.5 years ago and what he currently makes, they would tell Sean to go fuck himself. That's what they would say.
I got 6 cats to feed, Jimmy. I got 6 cats to feed. In the time that I've known you, we have vetted, rehomed over, I think 3 or 4 dozen cats, and that's before
awesome.
We get to the dogs.
Now, are you virtue signaling right now, Sean?
Yes, 100%, absolutely.
So we're all on the same page.
All the credit, none of the responsibility, please. 3 dozen dogs, too. My gosh, we vetted. We got a possum vetted one time.
Did really?
Yes. Yes.
So you took in a foster possum and then you adopted out a foster possum?
We didn't adopt it. Like we let it free, but it got
Oh, you
hurt
let it
pretty
free.
bad,
Okay.
and
Okay.
we found somebody that would vet it, and it got taken care of pretty well. But my gosh, yeah,
Really?
that was
Really?
wild. That was wild.
So I
It
want
was a little baby.
a baby possum.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want to ask you something about allergies. So I had a friend who recently got a kitten, knew that he had allergies, thought that he could keep it under control with medication. Didn't work, and he had to give the kitten up in like 3 days. So what do you say for people that maybe they want a cat, but either they know they're allergic, or once they get it, they discover they're allergic?
Okay, so the human allergies. Okay.
Yes.
So, well, a couple of things. I wouldn't commit to a cat until you can understand like whether you can actually live with this animal in your space. There are some cats. So people are not usually allergic to the fur. They're allergic to the dander, which is the skin cells that come off.
Hmm.
And there are some cats that are lower dander. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but there are some cats out there that are considered not to be hypoallergenic, but they're low dander cats. So maybe going and spending some time with one of those cats to see. I know people who have terrible allergies that have gone to the lengths of actually having allergy injections, right? So they get an allergy serum made, they know they're allergic to cats, and then they go through the desensitization of the allergen shots. The other thing is I know people actually will they'll take antihistamines every single day. Get a HEPA filter for your air circulation system, your furnace or your air conditioner. I would get a HEPA filter for your vacuum. I would try to get rid of carpets if you can, because that's where a lot of that dander will lay down.
Hmm.
And then you're doing a lot of washing and vacuuming and a lot of that all the time. So I would say that would be a good place to start.
Okay, what about hyperallergenic cats? Like, is that a thing really? Like, does it really make a difference?
A hypoallergenic cat.
I've heard, yeah, I've read stuff about that. Yeah.
Well, I think, and I don't know, because I know people who get them and then still have the allergies after.
Right.
So I know some people are marketing them as hypoallergenic. So I would say maybe, some of the Sphinx cats or the hairless breeds, you could try those as well, but they still have the skin cells. So I would look into like the low dander cat breeds, low dander.
Interesting.
Woo-hoo.
Okay. I think that's all my questions.
Okay.
We have another chat. Alan says, Purina has come up with a hypoallergenic food for cats. It claims to make them safe for allergies.
Is that real?
I don't know. Like, I've seen that one too, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. I think for that, and I love Purina. I have no beef with you guys. You guys are great. I think time will tell, right? We're gonna have to see how the consumers do with that, and if it actually does help with
Interesting.
Guys, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. I know this is categorically different than what we usually do, but still something we're so passionate about. Dr. Sarah Wooten, thank you so much for joining us. Let the people know where they can find you. Of course, your Facebook is right there. Your website is down there, but tell the people what they can find there.
Well, you can just find tips for pet care, and you can find different funny stories, things like that, and then you can just see where I'm at and what I'm up to.
Jimmy, anything else to add?
No, thanks for doing this. I don't know if I asked you this when we went on the air. I asked you when we were off the air, when some guy you don't know hits you up, says, I run a pro wrestling combat sports website. Do you want to talk about cats? What possibly goes through your mind when you get that email?
Oh, I first of all, I was so excited. I thought it was weird. I thought it was wonderful. And I was like, I think I found my people.
Awesome. My gosh, people are very, very funny in our chat. Categorically different.
Come on, you said that on purpose for that
I'm
reason.
just so proud of you guys. I didn't at all, actually.
Come on.
Guys, thank you all so much. Please leave a thumbs up on this video. Please share this video. Facebook groups, Twitter, social media, to somebody that might be new to cats or not. Like, there's a lot of questions that were answered here. Thank you guys so much. Until next time, we're out.